Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. I am Chris Percy, Senior Director of Member Productions here at MoveOn, and I am so glad that you could be here for our inaugural book club tonight. Tonight I am joined by MoveOn member Miss Evelyn and former chair of the Wisconsin Democratic Party and former MoveOn Washington Director, Ben Wikler. And together we'll be digging into Ben's new book, This is the Plan: How to End America's Meltdown and Save Democracy. If you have not purchased this book yet, do yourself a favor and grab yourself a copy now. Grab yourself a copy, grab your friends a copy. If you've had conversations with folks who are like, I don't know what to do, grab a copy. Also, you can get the audiobook because I did both. It is very fun and it is a timely read, so please dig into it, go get it. It's really great. For those of you who are just tuning in, This is the Plan lays out year by year and step by step a vision, not only for ending America's collapse to authoritarianism, but for reconnecting us to our neighbors and to community along the way. Because fighting side by side for democracy doesn't just protect what matters, it builds meaning, it builds joy, it builds community. So please get yourself a book if you don't have it. But since you're here, grab your seat, get comfortable, and let's get into it. So we are not just here to talk about this great book, and it is really wonderful. We are also here to talk about MoveOn's plan to take back the House and win the Senate this November. Members have already made thousands of calls and have had thousands of conversations with folks across the country to get out to vote during the primaries that are still happening in some states around the country. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate a couple of MoveOn endorsed candidates that won their primaries this week. Huge shout out to Dr. El Sayed, who won the Democratic primary for Senate in Michigan. So happy for him. Also from the great Mitten State, William Lawrence won his primary for Congress in Michigan's 7th district, and Donovan McKinney in Michigan's 13th district. So please, if you're in the chat, go ahead and show them some love. We are so proud of them and the work that they are doing. You too can find out what our plan is for winning this November, since we're talking about plans, by going to moveon.org/election book club right now and signing up to join our election program. We are super excited for the work, and it's just 89 days away. I cannot believe it. Just 89 days until Election Day. So before we start our conversation tonight, please help me welcome MoveOn Executive Director, Katie Bethel. Hey, Katie, how you doing?
Chris, thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are here first book club event, and we chose This is the Plan. This is the plan for a very specific reason. I don't have to tell you how much is at stake this election cycle. We have the war in Iran. Voting rights are being systematically destroyed across the nation. Immigrant communities are under attack, and families are reeling from sky-high gas, utility, and healthcare costs. While this administration wants us to feel hopeless and helpless, we're here tonight to be reminded just how powerful we are. And my friend, colleague, one of my favorite people in the world, Ben Wikler, and he's a MoveOn alum, He has mapped out how we actualize our power in his amazing book. It's called The Plan, and I have my early copy of it here, and you can see it's all marked up. And in fact, here's evidence about why you should read this book. I laughed out loud so many times that starting on page 61, I started tallying the number of times I literally laughed out loud 21 times. So there are at least 21 laugh out loud moments in the plan. Besides being a very entertaining and inspiring read, the plan itself really matters. Winning back power really matters. And it's our collective people power that's the way we will defeat authoritarianism. Most importantly, the plan is about building community. Building this community, our members who are getting involved by volunteering, contacting voters, getting on our monthly activist calls, and joining local organizing cohorts. The work we're doing to achieve wins this election cycle are part of a longer term plan to build lasting change for all of us. And it's going to take all of us. So buckle up, folks. Get ready to hear the plan from Ben. And I'm going to hand it right back to you, Chris.
So much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Katie. And remember, folks, you too can get the book. This is the plan. It is really dope. Please get it. Get it now if you don't already have it. You should have it because you're here at a book club. So you should have read it. I'm passing out. There will be homework. Okay. I have assignments in a grade book and a red pen. Okay. Maybe not. Anyway, thank you, Katie. And remember, folks, you too can learn about what we're doing right here, right now for this election. Head to moveon.org/election book club and sign up to join our election program. This is how we power up the fight together. So don't wait, do it today. If you're sitting around like, I don't know what to do, one, get the book and you can figure some things out. But also, we have a program that you can jump right into right now today. So, all right, I am excited to get into this book and have the conversation with you tonight. So jump into the chat and introduce yourselves to your fellow book clubbers. This is your first name, where you're tuning in from, and what you're interested in learning more about tonight. I have my list of things that I'm interested in learning about. I hope you do too. So my co-host tonight is no stranger to MoveOn. Miss Evelyn is a 30-year veteran educator, lifelong activist, and unrelenting MoveOn volunteer since 2017. I was there when she started. Her organizing helped flip 2 Illinois congressional districts blue during the 2018 Blue Wave. She now co-leads MoveOn's Take Action Prep team, the onboarding team, and the mobilizer community. I don't know how she got all this time. She's also the founder of Anti-Racist Conversations, a platform that is fact-based dialogue that is hosted by leaders like Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds and Texas NAACP President Gary Bledsoe. Her mantra says it all. If you see something that needs to be done, do it. So please welcome my friend and co-host tonight, Miss Evelyn. Hey, Miss Evelyn, how you doing?
Hey, Chris, I'm doing well. This is so exciting. I am just honored and really excited to co-facilitate this conversation with you tonight. And many, many thanks to everyone for joining this inaugural book club tonight. And like Chris has already said, I also have a very quick question for you guys. How many of you guys have read the book, really read the book, and you are ready for action? If you have read the book, please let us know in the chat. Okay. So, but just to make sure we have the best use of our time for tonight, we want to make sure we jump right in and talk with the author of This is the Plan, How to End America's Meltdown and Save Democracy, written by Ben Wikler. It draws upon his experiences leading the Wisconsin's political comeback to outline a step-by-step strategy for readers to undo Trumpian's authoritarianism and make the country work for everyone. Ben is also the co-host of This is Wisconsin with Civic Media, where he travels Wisconsin and lifts up stories and people around the state. He shines a spotlight on what they're doing and what they love about Wisconsin. And also, he gets an idea of how they can better fight to make Wisconsin better for everyone. While Ben served as chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin from 2019 to 2025, Wisconsin Democrats won 10 out of 13 statewide races, including, y'all, Joe Biden's presidential win in 2020, Tony Evers' reelection in 2022, and Tammy Baldwin's victory in 2024, as well as 3 state Supreme Court landslides that flipped the majority and ended the state's extreme partisan state legislative gerrymander. Wikler has spent over 2 decades at the forefront of progressive advocacy and political action. Before leading the Wisconsin Democratic Party, as you've already heard, Wikler worked for MoveOn, where he helped spearhead campaigns to protect the Affordable Care Act and resist Trump's agenda. Growing up in Madison, Wisconsin, he was active in campaigns, advocacy, and writing headlines for The Onion. He now lives in Wisconsin with his wife, Beth, their 3 children, and his enormous dog that I've seen, Pumpkin. Please welcome the author of This is the Plan: How to End America's Meltdown and Save Democracy, Mr. Ben Wikler. Ben, welcome. It's just awesome to have you here tonight.
Ms. Evelyn, thank you so much for that very much too kind introduction. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, MoveOn family and friends. This is a community that really shaped me, that I'm so proud to have been able to work as a member of the team, but also as a MoveOn member in fight after fight after fight, going back a couple decades now. And the spirit, the idea of people power, and the idea that people power can make democracy work for everyone, it's at the heart of this book. So it makes me just really thrilled to be able to kick off the new MoveOn book club with this event tonight, with this book that really tries to bring more people into the circle of solidarity in the fight for a country that where the government is on all of our side, on the American people's side, and not just on the side of a handful of far-right billionaires.
Absolutely. So I'm just really excited to jump into the book and have this conversation with you. I've read the book. Early on in the book, you write that Nancy Pelosi famously praised your frontline leadership, hailing you as the preeminent state party chair and one of the most strategic and respected leaders of your generation. This statement certainly propels one into action for humanity. But I want to know what inspired you to write this book, and when did you really know that you had a story worth telling?
So I think the moment that kind of crystallized this for me was when Elon Musk, the world's richest man, came to Wisconsin and tried to buy our state Supreme Court. He tried to buy the majority. He spent $56 million on a state Supreme Court race, more than anyone has ever spent on any judicial election in American history. He went up on stage in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He put on a cheesehead, which is a very important part of Wisconsin culture, and he try to give out bribes, these $1 million novelty checks, like a publisher's clearinghouse, to get people to come on over and support his guy, who would have basically re-rigged the state of Wisconsin, as well as voting in Musk's direction with his own lawsuits that Tesla had going through the court system. And he, on the stage in Wisconsin, he said, you may not think that this will a state Supreme Court race will affect the entire destiny of humanity, but I think it will. And I watched that and I was like, that is the perfect line to be able to tell a story, to open a book, to tell a story of this fight. That wound up being the first sentence in the book, is Elon Musk saying that there in Green Bay. We wound up beating him. Susan Crawford, our amazing candidate, crushed his candidate by 10 percentage points in an election that had a bigger turnout than any Supreme Court race ever in the history of Wisconsin. And after that, I was exhausted. We'd had the 2024 election. Tammy Baldwin had barely won in Wisconsin. That we were heartbroken about Trump. I ran for DNC chair, which is a whole other story. Then I came back. We had this battle with Elon Musk, and I sort of reached this point where I was like, there's so much that we've built up and learned in this time, and I'm ready to pass the torch as the chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. But I want to get this down before I go on to do whatever else I'm going to do with my life. And I started thinking through what a book could actually look like. my that's how I started. But as I was writing it, I sort of realized what I was trying to do was equip everyone to fight to unrig the country in the way that Wisconsinites have fought to unrig this state. And the key thing, and we'll talk about this more tonight, is exactly what MoveOn does. It's the recognition that there's no one election, there's no one candidate, however amazing a candidate might be. There's no one office that fixes this broken thing called democracy in this country. It takes a movement. It takes a community of people who actually draw energy from each other, who stay in the fight for the long term, fighting at every level of government over time. And that it's so different from how the media usually covers politics, which is this kind of like, it's a competition and somebody wins, somebody loses, and that's it. And that's just not how democracy works. It really is people powering change over time. And when you realize the power that you have, it can be a source of joy. It can be so much fun to be part of a community that does this work. So the goal in the book is both to bring that big idea in and then to map out what is it if all of us get together and put in the energy and effort that we can, what can we do? And the answer is we can make this country into a better, freer, fairer democracy than it's ever been, where everybody, no matter what they look like or where they live or what their faith might be, where everyone has a voice and everyone gets to shape the future of the country and the government responds to what people want. And that is not how it works right now. And people are furious about it, and rightly so. But there really is a path. And I know we'll talk about that tonight. But I always find hope in action when the action is connected to something that can actually work and make a difference. And I've been able to have that through MoveOn and in my work in Wisconsin. And I want to make sure that everyone realizes that in this moment when people feel so isolated and powerless, we are connected to one another and we are powerful.
Thank you so much for that response. I heard so many key words: movement, people powered, connected. There's a place for all of us. No matter where you come from, no matter what you look like, there's a place for everybody. So thank you so much for that response. Chris, I'm going to kick it off to you now.
Thank you. First of all, Ben, again, thank you so much for doing this with us. It's always good to have an alumnus come. It feels like you're coming home. I know it's like work, but it's still like coming home. And so I'm thankful for you. And also being, I'm based here in Chicago. I love Wisconsin. I especially love my trips when I can stop at the Cheese Castle. We all know where that Cheese Castle is. I stock up. Okay. This whole side of weight has something to do with that cheese castle. But there are so many members who are watching right now, folks who have been members for some years, some folks who are new to the work and to the movement. And they are here because for all intents and purposes, like shit is real, right? And folks are hurting. I was at the grocery store and just got a couple of items that would have cost me $20 maybe about 2, 3 years ago. It is more like $40 now. For those who are trying to figure out what they can do to have a real impact in their community. We all know that all politics are local, it starts there. How did your time here and Move On help shape your perspective, and shaped your work and your plan for action, and even the work that you're doing now? I really want folks to see themselves in the work in that trajectory.
Absolutely. So I think of three big moments for me at MoveOn. The first one was the first time that I actually worked at MoveOn for a sustained period. My kind of life was intertwined with MoveOn starting in like 2004 in various different ways. But in the 2008 presidential race, I was working with an international group working on climate change and human rights, and I took a leave and went over to MoveOn for the final stretch in the 2008 presidential race. And during that time, my job was to organize people to travel to states that were going to be battlegrounds. We called it the Travelers Program, and I was sending out emails, organizing buses full of people to go and go and help knock on doors for President Obama and to help build a democratic wave. And it was such a joyful campaign and such an amazing experience to be part of this huge thing. I think something like a quarter of all the volunteers in the Obama campaign wound up coming in through MoveOn in that election, which is a story that is kind of lost to history, but it was a vast number of people who found their way into being able to help, joining this huge coalition of amazing folks that helped propel President Obama to victory. The final stretch, the MoveOn staff gathered in Philadelphia, and I write about this moment in the book We literally went outside after the election was called, and people were dancing in the streets across race, across generation, joyful music, dancing, everyone hugging each other, total strangers. This is in Philadelphia, and I still remember that night. And that there were feelings like that all over the country. When you feel the experience of being part of a victory like that, where there's so much hope and so much energy, it just creates this surge. You want to stay involved. You want to do this work. MoveOn went on to play a critical role in the passage of the Affordable Care Act, which changed my life and my family's life and so many people's lives. So that was moment one. Moment two was later. I was the Washington director for MoveOn. President President Obama had negotiated a deal to prevent a war with Iran by making sure that Iran would never get a nuclear weapon. It was called the Iran nuclear deal. And there was this question of whether Congress would zap that deal, would destroy it. And there were enough votes, it seemed like, to kill the deal and put us on a path to war. And a big part of my job at MoveOn at that moment was to go office to office to members of Congress to let them know how strongly MoveOn members felt that we had to use diplomacy to avoid war and to keep people safe, to stop nuclear proliferation and ensure that we could actually, you know, not wind up sending, American troops overseas and endangering the lives of Iranians and Americans alike. That was a fight that we could easily have lost, but it wound up being this kind of groundswell that made very clear that Democrats were not going to tolerate another open-ended war in the Middle East, and that you had to use diplomacy to do this. Now, when we have this Iran war from a president who refused to use diplomacy, it feels like I'm really proud in retrospect of that work. That at the time we couldn't have known how painfully right we would be proven down the road. But that was a demonstration of people power to me. And then the third big one was when the Republicans came in 2017. After Trump was elected, Republicans won both chambers of Congress. They wanted to repeal the Affordable Care Act. And MoveOn made an early decision, even though people said, look, they have the votes, they campaigned on it, they're going to do it, this is already a done deal. MoveOn decided to throw everything into stopping them from taking away people's health care. And I wound up being part of this amazing team, and I'm sure a million people who are watching this stream joined those protests at that moment. There were 23,000 protests across the country. MoveOn was the kind of hub and gathering place for so many of the organizing moments around that fight. And we delayed them and delayed them and delayed them, and then we beat them, and we saved healthcare for tens of millions of Americans. And I was leading the protest outside the Capitol on the night of the victory when John McCain famously turned his thumb down. There were hundreds of us out there, families with kids with serious disabilities and complex medical needs, with oxygen tanks and trachs that like their lives, their kids' lives were on the line. And it had seemed like something that there was no way the public could stop the combined force of the right, and the public pulled it off. We, all of us, people power, changed the course of American history in that fight. Right around then is when I decided I was going to move home to Wisconsin, because I had this feeling of like, we stopped this by the skin of our teeth, but we need to change who's making these decisions in Washington, D.C. And that started this process for me of moving home to where I live in Wisconsin now. When I got home, and after not long, I was running for chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, I met all these people around the state who had been part of those protests and those fights. MoveOn members play a huge role in being members of the Democratic Party and all over the country. However people feel about the party, it's something that people can affect and change and shape. And so MoveOn, I think, really played a central role for me in my path to being home where I am right now and being able to do the work I did, most of all by proving to me that when we all join together, we can move mountains. We can do the impossible. We can elect people. We can stop terrible policies. We can prevent wars. If you don't see the power, it's hard to believe that it's worth the work. But my hope, with this book and with my life and with MoveOn, is to give people the experience of what people power really looks like. It's an amazing, and it's a beautiful, and it's an elemental thing. It's the heart of what democracy is supposed to be about.
Definitely. We're going to take a quick break for a second, but before we do that, I definitely want to just let you know that I want to come back to that because I want to spend a little bit more time around your journey because like the way, and I was here when you made the decision to go back home and to lean into Wisconsin, and that is a big decision to do. And so start thinking about that because when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about that. So I think this is a good place to pause and like hear from other Move On members. And we thank you, Ben, for just highlighting some of the work and the journey that you had as a Move On alum yourself. But like, let's hear about what Move On members are doing this election season, and we will be right back with Ben after this.
I think that the current state of politics has a lot of us feeling pretty hopeless, and I know that tonight I can go to bed feeling like I did something.
The best elixir for that anxiety is to do something. And that could be making a few phone calls or knocking on a few doors or showing up to an event like this. And you immediately feel better. You meet like-minded folks and you develop community with other people who also feel the same way you do. And there's no better cure for the anxiety than to get out there and volunteer.
Being a MoveOn member and participating in events around the community, I start to see people that I recognize, and now I'm learning their names and we're showing up together. And if I didn't have someone to go with before, I know that someone is going to be there that I've met. And so I'm building relationships across the community with people I may not have met otherwise. But I know so many more people in the area now than I did a year and a half ago, now that I've been doing more work around the area. So I can text people, and I know that they'll come and show up and be there. And it is a large community of people who are looking for better for our families and our friends.
We started out small. We've done a lot of great things, and God, I wouldn't change it. I think I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life.
All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I think that the current state of...
Here we go. All right. So before we go any further, folks, we were going to do that again, just so you can know that you too could be a part of this wonderful community of volunteers. You can go right now to join MoveOn's election program for the 2026 midterms at moveon.org/election book club. Again, that's moveon.org/election book club. We are the change that we are looking for. Ben has proven that through his life's work and trajectory. So like, take this time now, go to moveon.org/election book club and sign up right now. There are so many different things you can do, from hosting a voter contact event to attending one, to phone banking your local folks, to adopting a district. There are so many different things that you can do with us. So go now. 89 days left. We are the change we are looking for. So that is our plan. Let's build it together. Back to Ben. So Ben, actually, I had a question that I was going to ask, and I am going to ask it, but I'm going to add another question to this because listening to you talk, I think it's so important. Like, as folks read this book and hear your story, you know, there is a certain amount of tenacity one has to have when they make a decision to use their life to affect change, right? And I would love to just spend a moment to talk briefly about like your shifting from working at MoveOn, being in Washington, D.C., and that decision that you had when you said, I'm going to go home, I am going to run for state chair of the Democratic Party. I'm going to do that. And like, what you might not know, Nellie Sayers, who was executive director, also was my boss years ago on the Obama campaign and the governor campaign after that. So I know a little bit about some of the work that you did. So I'm just curious if you can just share with us a little bit about some of what you did. You did so many great, wonderful things. I just would love to learn a little bit more about that journey that you took.
Sure. So, you know, I think Wisconsin's the greatest state that's ever existed. So I know not everyone can be lucky enough to have grown up in Wisconsin. We all love our hometowns and our home states. But I'd always dreamed of raising my kids in Wisconsin, in this community, the state that I really loved. But I worked on campaigns. I worked in advocacy groups. I was working at MoveOn. There was amazing work happening. And there reached a point where my home state, that has this very deep progressive tradition that I write about in the book. It was the state where the Republican Party was founded as an abolitionist, anti-slavery party. It was the first state to ratify the 19th Amendment so that women could vote. It's the first state to have public sector unions. Wisconsinites wrote the Social Security Act. All this rich Earth Day started by Wisconsinite, all this stuff that I was so into about our state's history. that I kind of drew from as a source of, kind of vision and energy for myself, all that started feeling a little like maybe a previous chapter, because in 2010, while I was living out of state, the Republican Party, Scott Walker, the Tea Party, Ron Johnson, swept in with money from Citizens United, and they took over. And immediately they started trying to rig the state so they'd never lose power, even if the public tried to vote them out. It was a miniature version of what the whole country is going through right now. I flew home and joined the protests against Act 10 during that time. I knocked on doors in several elections, but Republicans gerrymandered our state legislature so much that they could win a small minority of the votes and win a huge majority of the seats. They suppressed votes. They targeted Black voters and young voters in particular. They changed our campaign finance laws. They defunded schools and the university and the roads, anything that the public benefited from. They cut the funding so they could give it to the super wealthy in our state. And it started seeming like Wisconsin might have become a red state. When Trump won, Wisconsin had 5-2 right-wing state Supreme Court majority. It had one of the most restrictive voting laws in the country, the most partisan gerrymander in the nation. Republicans had near supermajorities in both chambers of the legislature, and they held almost every statewide office. And I wondered, if I moved home, would my kids live in a place where Medicaid wasn't expanded, where people's rights were being stripped away, like where all these things were going terribly wrong? Could they possibly have the experience I did of becoming more idealistic as they looked at how politics unfolded? And it was after the healthcare victory that so many of us on this live stream were part of, that I started feeling like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't know if I can live with myself if we don't go and try to do something about all this. And my wife and I, had been talking every year or two. We would like visit Madison and look at houses and think, should we move? And then it's like, we got a lot going on in our lives. But we finally decided we're going to figure out a way to do it. And in 2018, we moved back. Before we actually moved the whole family, I was coming back for long stretches to volunteer on the campaigns. I got to crisscross the state. I saw this incredible grassroots organizing machine that the Democratic Party of Wisconsin had built in partnership with allies and unions and different partners around the state. I was so inspired by it. And then Democrats, we'd already decided to move, but to our delight, Democrats won every statewide election in 2018 for the first time in decades, since 1982. Some of these were what are called field margins, where field organizing, folks knocking on doors, talking to voters, is enough to make the difference. Governor Evers beat Scott Walker by 1.1 percentage point. And Wisconsin is a state that's so closely divided that the joke in Wisconsin is, what do you call a victory by 1.1 percentage point? A landslide, because it's more than 1 point. But it happened. And then we saw the other side of the coin. Immediately after he won, Republicans in the legislature convened a special session to take away power from the governor and from Attorney General Josh Kaul, who's our great Attorney General. And they moved the power to the legislature. And it was this power grab. They made it harder to vote. They did a whole bunch of different things that they wanted to get in before the Democrats came in, so that what the public voted to give those powers to the governor and attorney general, they couldn't be wielded by the people who'd been chosen by the public. The gerrymandered legislature that represented a minority of the voters, they wanted the control. And so it was a kind of stark reminder that even if you beat the big bad guy at the top, just like we beat Donald Trump in 2020, the fight doesn't end. And that, I think, lit a fire for me. In 2019, the then chair of the state party decided not to run for re-election. I ran, was elected that summer. I got to hire your old boss, Nellie Sires, who's just an incredible leader, manager, organizer, trainer. And our goal was to supercharge the grassroots organizing around the state and use it, channel people's energy into every fight that came up. So I laid out a kind of initial 5-point plan that had the acronym WISCO: win the spring Supreme Court election, inspire, recruit, and train volunteers at the national convention, which is supposed to be in Wisconsin, save the veto for Governor Evers by stopping Republican supermajorities, cancel, that's the C, cancel Trump's second inaugural, and then organize for the long term. That was our first battle plan. And we just went into it. And over the course of 6 years that I served as chair, we had 18 statewide election days. Wisconsin has a lot of elections. We kept building neighborhood by neighborhood, this organizing machine across all the communities in our state. We learned all these different things about how to organize online and in different contexts. We started operating in multiple languages to be able to connect with voters who spoke English, Spanish, or Hmong. We built out a permanent campaign operation. That was the vision, that each candidate would have their own message and their own approach to the job of being able to communicate with voters, but they'd be able to click in with this standing kind of grassroots team who shared a commitment to democracy itself, not just to any individual candidate. And it meant that every candidate started here instead of starting at the bottom. And that allowed us to win over and over, even in a state where Republicans before that had won the vast majority of the statewide races. And that work continues right now, and it goes forward. And that, to me, is the model for what we can do as a country. But it comes from seeing it work in a state that has been targeted by the right because of our progressive tradition. The right is trying to smash democracy in Wisconsin. We have unrigged our state legislative maps. We have fair maps now. We have a path to undoing so much of the voter suppression and all these attacks, to restoring union organizing rights. Union busting was the biggest thing the Republicans focused on, in fact. And there's real hope here because of the work of thousands of people over years. And to me, there's a lesson to be drawn there about what we need to do as a nation.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to give folks I wanted you to sort of list out a little bit of your credentials with this, right? And I think that's important. One of the things that I really appreciated about the book is some of the historical context that you led with, right? That really helped firm up the understanding of what the plan is. It really set us up to understand what's going on. I want to read this. I know you can see it in the chat. But somebody said, this book inspired me to talk to my neighbor about her plans to vote. Both her daughters will be 18 this week, and they talked about them registering. So those are some of the wonderful things that your book is soliciting, getting people to do. So I just wanted to do that. Okay, so I added that question sort of illegally. I did not tell anybody I was going to ask that, but just listening to you, I wanted to. So here's my real question real quick before I pass it back to Miss Evelyn. Hey, Miss Evelyn, love you. Okay. So earlier, Katie mentioned that she had some real laugh out loud moments while reading the book. And I definitely had some, like, especially listening to the book. I will suggest if folks like audiobooks, get the audiobook version because it is funny to hear Ben tell the story himself. So you talked a bit about the need to center joy in our work and to illustrate that, and you illustrate it very well in the book. How does staying joyful and building genuine community with the people around you function as a tool? And a lot of people don't think of it like this, as a tool for winning, not just a way to survive the fight.
Yeah. I love I love the fact of this question because it reflects, I think, something that MoveOn does, at its best in fight after fight, which is to recognize that if you are throwing a party, it's got to be a fun party if you want people to actually want to come and be part of it. The way that you grow is by having magnetism, by building the irresistible pull of people wanting to be part of the circle that you're growing. And I think part of that is treating people as actual full human beings, not just as if a volunteer walks in the door, you're just calculating, the number of doors they can knock or the number of dollars they can contribute. That is not the way. It's actually inviting people to bring their whole selves in, asking people questions, to share their stories, building real relationships, and then finding ways to plug some joy in at every step. So in Wisconsin, my favorite story that has this quality is the biggest fundraiser we ever threw. It's the only fundraiser that people still tell me that they had so much fun at. There was something like that would happen again. It's when the cast of The Princess Bride came together on a Zoom call and read through the script of the movie. They acted out, decades after the original movie was made. My favorite movie in the world. And
my jealousy was real. My jealousy was so real, Ben. Just so you know.
Well, it was a dream come true. It's literally my favorite movie. I have the whole movie memorized. I came very close to trying to create wallpaper in my bathroom of the script of The Princess Bride before I realized I couldn't figure out how to hang it right. So, this is something special for me, but for a whole ton of people. I quote the movie in the book several places, but there's one quote that I particularly love, which is the moment when the heroes are about to go and try to, raid the castle and rescue the princess. And Miracle Max says, have fun storming the castle. And I say in the book, we have to, if we want to storm the metaphorical castle, we have to have fun doing it in a non-January 6th civil, peaceful kind of way. What sustains you if you're involved in politics over a long period, not just the kind of final sprint 2 weeks before a presidential election, but for the long term, you actually have to build relationships that give you energy for this to be something that's sustainable. It can't just be driven by the fear of what happens if you lose. It has to be driven ultimately by love and by community and connection. And the amazing thing is that when you get involved in something that's about a cause that's bigger than yourself, a bigger purpose, you feel really good. And when people feel good, they look good. And people, they fall in love. They meet friends for life. I fell in love with my wife as we put up posters for a protest when I was in college. And so many people have had an experience like that. If you're in the comments, if you have a lifelong friend, share, who it is that you met or a moment when you connected with somebody. People, I think, in later chapters in life, they love sharing the stories, the kind of civil, peaceful war stories from the front of the work that they did, and it is something that can be so positive. This feeling that you were part of something special. That is one of the things I try to convey, especially because we're in a world right now where the world's biggest companies sometimes make their trillions of dollars by pulling us onto these glowing rectangles, onto our phones. And they do that with alerts and notifications and these things that kind of addict us, often by conveying a threat and fear, and it makes us feel small and like we want to just curl up in a fetal position under our blankets. And that makes us shrink and makes us feel powerless and makes us feel like there's nothing we can do about it. But if we can connect online or even put our phones down and connect in real life, then we grow and we realize that we can throw our arms open and connect with other people. And the experience of doing that, it propels even more action. I think hope comes from taking action, not the other way around. I think that taking action reduces political anxiety and gives people a sense that they have power and that they have agency to change things. And when they do that, they connect with each other, then amazing things happen. And people wind up years later running for office or leading organizations or doing things that they never thought that they could do. And I want to invite a book is an imperfect medium because it's something you read alone for the most part. But my hope is that the book can help people to see that there is a path like that out there and hopefully take that step and discover that they're part of something much bigger.
Definitely. And class, I hope you're taking notes because he dropped the gem. Hope comes from taking action. Hope you wrote it down. There will be a quiz. Okay. Over to you, Miss Evelyn.
Thank you so much. Oh, that was absolutely so inspiring, so optimistic sounding. It just resonates with my personality. I try to keep it on the up and up. However, there are times, though, even based on your book, when people are more cynical. It seems like you write it as cynicism is our biggest enemy. So when we're trying to organize people in the deep red, I've heard this concern before, in deep red areas where people feel totally isolated already or ignored. What's the best thing to say to someone who says, why bother? My vote doesn't really change anything. Nobody ever comes around where I am. What do we say to those people?
I mean, first, listen respectfully when people say that, because people have a lot of lived experience of often voting and not seeing change, often voting, because there's a specific problem they have that nothing happened afterwards. And it is what does not work is to blow smoke and tell people that if they're casting this one ballot's going to change everything. I think honesty is the basis, like listening and responding with honesty is the basis of being able to build trust. I also think that sometimes when it feels like you're powerless and your one vote can't do anything, that's because you're looking at the huge big picture, this huge national crisis that we're in. And one vote is not going to solve that crisis. But if you zero in on something where that vote can make a difference, then you can discover that there's such a difference between feeling like you have zero power and feeling like you have a little power. And if there's a bunch of people who use that little power, it can add up to a lot. This is the book, I have a fire extinguisher on the front. And that's because I think we have a shared sense. The country is on fire. And, screaming about the fire, worrying about the fire, those things are natural reactions. But what you really want when there's a fire is to find the fire extinguisher. And the fire extinguisher that all of us have access to is organizing. It is not taking action alone. It is taking action together with other people. I have talked to a lot of folks organizing in deep red states and across Wisconsin in deep red counties. We do intensive local organizing. And sometimes it's deciding we're going to focus on this one city council race, that this particular race, we lost by 27 votes, 2 years ago. And this time we're going to see if we can find 28 votes and we can win this thing. And that can work. And when you discover that you can do that, it's a light bulb moment. I think about in Mississippi, there was a special election this last year that broke the Republican supermajority in the state legislature. And Mississippi, there's amazing organizing and profound deep traditions, from the civil rights movement and through the present. But Republicans have had total domination and they've run the state with impunity. But this year they broke one of the sources of the GOP's power. And everyone who participated in that race that got very little national press attention, they were part of something that potentially changes the whole trajectory of that state politically. And there are fights like that. In North Carolina, they broke the Republican supermajority in 2024. In state after state, you can see this. In Oklahoma, they won a mayor's race. Like there's work in some of the most conservative places. If you zero in on what is the election that's on a knife's edge, where if we all join together, we can change it, and what is the row of dominoes connecting that race to future decisions about gerrymandering in our state and whether people can be represented, you can build a plan where you can see that working on an election that might seem inconsequential can add up to a big change down the road. And that's the heart of the work of the sort of vision of This Is the Plan, is mapping out what is that series of interconnecting lines that get us to a better democracy nationwide. How do we end gerrymandering for this whole country? How do we end the filibuster and then reform the U.S. Supreme Court, put term limits on the U.S. Supreme Court that gave us Citizens United? How do we get out of that mess? Those are big, ambitious goals that I think we really have to set if we want things to get better in an enduring way. But the way we get that those big changes down the road is by building power step by step, often on a block by block basis, and affecting local offices that make critical decisions about how elections run in our communities and whether people can afford a place to live. And once you find a fight where your work can actually change the outcome and you realize that power, then you start to build, and it's like a snowball rolling downhill that becomes an avalanche. It can get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Thank you so much for that response. And I think that's going to be helpful for a lot of people too, because sometimes I think we get stuck in the mentality that we have to have a large group of people around us, and we don't. We need to be consistent in what we're doing and then bring other people into the fold with us. So thank you for that. I have one more question for you. When you, in the book, you're discussing the need for a permanent campaign model. And I perceive that the plan requires a massive mental shift for folks like me, even regular people. How do we get people to drop that old habit of prepping for elections a few months in advance and actually commit to a year-round permanent plan that is sustainable? It's kind of like what you just mentioned, if you can expand on that.
Yeah, well, Ms. Evelyn, you live this. So this is, I think I'm speaking your language in this case. But so much of it is organizing people around issues when there's not an election nearby. That the whole thing, organizing 101 is give people something to do. And the slightly longer version of that is, explain what we can do if we do it together, and then do it, and then review what we've done, and then plan the next action. And so there's a cycle that kind of moves in a loop that way, or a spiral up. I talk about the ladder of engagement in the book. It's this idea in organizing that someone's not going to run for office tomorrow if they've never voted before, but if they vote, then maybe the next time they're going to be up for asking 3 friends to come to the polls with them. And then after that, maybe they'd be up for, knocking on some doors or putting up a yard sign. And that could go to, encouraging their friend to run for office and helping them think through, what to put on the leaflet that they hand out. And pretty soon they're running for city council. And, next thing you know, they're a member of Congress. That there is a ladder. And the experience of seeing that something works and that it's positive and that it's, not scary and you get positive reinforcement, it leads to the next thing. When you're in a place that doesn't have elections all the time, the way Wisconsin happens to do, there's still so much to fight for. There are decisions, votes that are being made by city councils and school boards all the time. There are decisions about how your neighborhood association is going to keep streets clean, or whatever the thing might be. And when you have a group of people that meets regularly and thinks about what it is they want to affect, that group winds up becoming a hub, becomes a source of power. People can do this with dollars, you can have a giving circle. Even if people only have $20 a month to contribute, you get 100 people to do that. Suddenly, you're talking about an amount of money that, especially local candidates would be very interested in. You can do that with your time and volunteers. You can do that with phone banking. You can do that with showing up at a meeting. If you have a big group of people, you can probably invite elected officials just to come and address you and answer your questions, because they are looking for groups of people who care enough to engage. And when you become a place where elected officials and people with power are showing up, then suddenly you have a say in the direction of what happens in your community. Or you can organize people to volunteer in places where elections are much more close. Um, the key to organizing is creating this experience of collective power. And from that, I think it can be messy, it can be complicated, but also it can be a source of collective joy and a source of a sense of empowerment and agency. And that's, I think that's the essential thing. That's the best tonic to citicism. A permanent campaign does not mean TV ads on the air all the time. It doesn't mean, selling your furniture to make campaign contributions. What it means is people engage together in purposeful action on a long-term basis and thinking about every level of government and every level of power. If we have a few, like 2% increase in Democrats and people generally with a progressive worldview, maybe whether or not they identify with a political party, getting involved in local elections, that's going to lead to a vast change in the country. I write in the book that even though it's very hard to convince someone to vote if they're not already voting, or to change who they're voting for, the number of votes you need to change the direction of this country is very small. Republicans wouldn't have a majority in the United States House right now if it weren't for 7,309 votes. Many more people than that will watch this call. The number, in fact, if Republicans hadn't won a North Carolina state Supreme Court election in 2020 by 401 votes, then that state probably wouldn't have been re-gerrymandered to give Republicans the 3 congressional seats that make up the entire U.S. House majority right now. And in the book, I talk about a bunch of elections that literally came down to 1 vote. So it's not that you can change everything. It's just that if you have a group of people that's taking action, figuring out where you can have the biggest impact, that permanent campaign can focus on these kind of pivot point moments, these tipping point moments that wind up affecting everything. And we don't need everyone in the country to do this. We just need enough people zeroed in on where they can have the biggest impact to be able to really unlock an American democracy that's rigged against the public. It is closer than you think, the power to make enormous positive change.
Thank you so much for that. When you were talking, I was thinking about collective power. I know as an organizer, when people come together for our group or whatever we're organizing for, we share our ideas, and not everyone is going to say, oh, I would love to be a phone banker. I would love to write postcards, but they know what they want to do. And to put that power together is what's going to make the difference in the movement. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was a joy speaking with you tonight and just hearing your story, being motivated and encouraged by you.
Well, huge. I mean, thanks right back to you, and thanks to everybody here. I have to say that it is so easy to feel overwhelmed. It's so easy to read the news and to especially look on the internet and feel like it's all happening at once. And how do we ever get out of this? And for me, it's conversations like this. It's communities like this one that renew my own faith and hope that we can actually do this. And it's also telling the stories. And that's something that we've been doing here tonight. And that's something that happened in your video and something I try to do in the book. The stories of people actually getting together and doing the impossible and making the difference. Mm-hmm. It is so easy to just focus on the next battle. And then in the book, I map out year by year what we have to do, to get around the threats of the Electoral College, to stop Trump from stealing the next election, to end gerrymandering, to end the filibuster. There's a lot of steps in the future. But if you only look forward, then you can miss the power that comes from actually reminding yourself of what it is that we collectively have done before. And this is a scary moment in the country, but we have done so much. We've built so much. We've overcome so much. I write in the book, at the founding of the country, only 6% of Americans had the right to vote. 6%. And now, we're in huge fights over birthright citizenship, and there's big threats and big challenges, but we are so far beyond what anyone hundreds of years ago thought in an era of slavery and the genocide against Native Americans and all these things. The fact that we are here now having this kind of conversation. The fact that I could write in the book about my godmother, Ada Deer, becoming the first Native American woman to win a congressional primary. And now they're, Mary Peltola might enter the United States Senate. Her tribe got its federal recognition after my godmother signed the papers when she was the head of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. There's this chain of people. We're all standing on the shoulders of giants who've been working and fighting for a country that works for everyone. And we are so gifted and lucky to be able to inherit their legacy and carry it forward. And even when it seems like things are coming apart impossibly, we've overcome even bigger things than that before. And we can do the same thing now. This can be a turning point moment that seems so bleak that becomes the wellspring for a much brighter future. And everyone here is part of that fight. So I just conclude on a note of very heartfelt gratitude to everyone here who believes in the power that we collectively can have to make this country reflect all of our wishes and dreams and the values that we all share. The idea that every person matters and that this should be a country in which every person has a voice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So, Ben, it's so funny because I was going to ask you what was going to be your parting message, and I think you just gave it. I think it so wonderfully and beautifully. And I just wanted to say, I was thinking back to the 25th anniversary where you came and shared with some of our members, and I made the mistake of calling wisdoms wisedoms, and everybody laughed at me. Everybody laughed at me, but I'm going to say wisedoms again because the wisdom of the Wisconsin folks to choose you to lead them through such a perilous time, I marvel at. And, as somebody who has watched your trajectory as a former coworker and now watching you and the work that you're doing and watching you on all these wonderful programs talking about your book, I am just so happy that you, one, took some time to come back and spend with some MoveOn members, but also happy that there are folks like you out there fighting the fight on for lack of a better term, on the front lines, right? These types of voices are the voices that we need speaking to us to remind us about, hope coming from action, right? To remind us to center joy, to remind us not to become paralyzed by cynicism, to remind us that it is the small beginnings that will get us to the finish line, to remind us that, joy does come in the morning. I'm a church boy, I have to say it, like just to remind us that we do have power. And that is what your book talks about. That is the plan, right? The plan is actually, for me, as reading your book, it is a mirror. The plan is a mirror. Look at yourself. Look at what you have. Look at what you bring to the table and lean into that and let that fuel you as we keep doing this work. So I want to thank you so much for coming tonight. And before you leave, we had just a little quick little something, a little quick little memory of you over these last several years that you were at MoveOn. So roll the clip, everybody.
Oh my goodness. I'm Ben Wikler. I'm the Washington director of MoveOn.org. We're out here because the Senate is failing to do its job. There are hundreds of people in rally tonight. In Madison, Wisconsin, outside the Capitol, there are 2,000 people protesting tonight. We're gathered here outside the White House, a house that we pay for. The Republicans want to vote to move ahead with a deadly bill. Shame, 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 shame. They're there because of a vision of a country that works for them and for everybody in the United States. This is about a vision for what American politics should be about, for what the Democratic Party should be about, that's fundamentally about whether the system works for the billionaire class or for regular people. This is a moment when everyone is looking for how they can help because of the palpable sense that our country is on the line. This is something that we can stop and we will stop because we will not stop fighting. So if you want to get text alerts about future mobilizations in DC, opportunities to take action, MoveOn has you covered.
It was just a little quick something for you, Ben. Just a stroll down memory lane of back when we were younger, you know. Thank you again so much to the incomparable Ben Wikler. And again, folks, if you sat here today and you didn't have the book, it's fine. You can still go get it. This is the plan. Bam, Ben Wikler. Thank you so much, Ben, for being with us tonight, and we are so honored. So, all right, folks, there you have it. Our first book club event. This is the plan: how to end America's meltdown and save democracy. Our thanks to Ben Wikler for making time tonight. He's been all over the news and networks and been talking to some real fancy people. So I'm so glad that he spent some time with us. A special thank you to my co-host and friend, Ms. Evelyn, the incomparable, the indomitable, the wonderful Miss Evelyn. Thank you so much. I first met her in 2017 when she joined our Resistance Summer program, and she's been kicking ass ever since. You know, she don't cuss, but I did. And finally, thank you to each one of you, the audience, for joining us tonight. You are why we are here, and you are why we will win this November. So remember, you've heard wonderful conversation tonight. Hope comes from taking action. I wrote it down. So if you're like, oh, I need some hope, then take action. Go to moveon.org/election book club to sign up to win this election this year. And remember, we just have 89 days left. You can dig in for 89 days. So sign up. And with that, folks, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Again, thank you so much, Ben. Thank you, Miss Evelyn. Everyone, I'll see you in the field. Have a great night. Bye-bye.